the moment of truth. Is this boiled suet pudding going to come out? This is still a little hot, but not too hot. Maybe too hot. Oh! Ooh! Ooh, and it jiggles a little. This is beautiful. Welcome back. It is week 41, and this week again we have a special guest. My sister Tori will be joining us. If this is your first time joining, hello and welcome. My name is Ashley. I'm a registered dietitian, and I also have an antique business. I'm combining those two things, food and vintage, to bring you this project. This is the 52 Sunday Dinners project. I found a cookbook from the 1920s, and looking inside, there were so many really cool recipes. I decided I wanted to recreate them, and I thought I couldn't keep it to myself, so I'm bringing you along with me. On the menu today, we have cream of lima bean soup, crumbled chicken and gravy, lady Cabb, chiffonade salad, suet pudding, and coffee. We're skipping over the mashed potatoes because we've made them before in several other recipes, and the cheese and toasted salt crackers, there is no recipe on there for those, so we're also going to skip over those. And just for you sugar-coated mystic, I am going to start putting up the recipes for some of these pickled and other jellies. So here is the crab apple jelly recipe, just in case some of you want to try it out. Okay, everyone, with that, let's get our aprons on and get into the kitchen. Apparently that is not the move. That is though.
Did you do something, or did it just suddenly come out?
I had both of the grinder pieces on, the small and the large, I guess, and so it got clogged. And when I opened that up, it unclogged it aggressively all over the place. You don't like the gingerbread smell? I thought you liked the smell of molasses. Why are you whispering?
I don't know.
You don't want to.
It smells wonderful. It looks.
You don't want to hurt the feelings of the suet pudding. You're just whispering about it behind its back. As Tori is mixing up the suet pudding there, on the stove over here we have a roasting pan. We were debating on how we were to steam this pudding and what molds to use. So we've chosen these heart molds, and steaming, we weren't sure, do we put it in the oven and put it in a water bath? Do we put it in a steamer? What in a double boiler? What would be the best option for that? And so we've chosen this roaster. We put a cooling rack in the bottom. We have the cooling rack in the bottom here, so hopefully that will prevent the molds from touching the bottom, and it'll help just steam this. What Tori brought up a good point and said she was afraid if we did it strictly in the oven and not on the stovetop, we would have to cook it at a super high temperature in order to get it hot enough to steam. And so hopefully this is our best bet. I have a gas range here. We'll see how this turns out, and if this is something that you remember your parents, grandparents, yourself making something like this, or you still make it and you have a better method of doing this, let us all know. So if somebody wants to try this at home, they can do it in a manner that might be a little more efficient than what we're doing it. I'll tell you later. I think we'll need a third. I'm very bad at measurements.
This looks like the wet cat food that I feed Maggie.
Here are our molds sitting in a little water bath. I assume we're gonna have to add water to it periodically. I'll probably check it. I will mean to check it every 20 minutes. I'll remember to check it every 45 to 50 minutes is the likely reality of what's about to happen here. But we're gonna get the top on this. And take a look. And that's kind of what we're looking at and hoping will work out here. I have it set on 8. My knobs go to 10, so I have it set to 8, and hopefully this works. If not, we'll check and adjust it as we go. We are chopping, Tori's chopping for the lady Cabb. She's got the cabbage that she is chopping. I'm doing for the chiffonade salad. And interestingly, the chiffonade salad, maybe it meant something else in the 20s, but when I think of chiffonade salad, I think of the cut, like the long, thin strips. And
Julienne?
No, like this is what we are considering straws, I guess. Right, at least this is what I'm considering straws right now. I know there was a debate before with the other celery and lettuce cheese salad. So this is what I'm considering straws. It's been about an hour and we've turned the heat down from 8 to 2, and that seems like a much more manageable and appropriate amount of steam coming out of this thing. So let's just take a quick peek. See what we're working with. Ooh, baby. It is growing, if you can see that, and it's looking like it's about to get pretty exciting. So we've got 2 more hours on this sucker, and then we'll get to taste it. We're discussing the ratio of liquid to cabbage here, and it does look like a lot of liquid here. Like, that's a lot of liquid for this cabbage. And maybe that's the amount we're supposed to have. Maybe it's supposed to be very wet. Or maybe this should have, back in the day, would have evaporated more and we have an excessive amount. I'm not sure. I think we're gonna go with what we have though, because that's what the recipe called for and that's how we're trying to do things. And we'll see what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we're gonna stop. We still have about this much in there. Yeah, we'll stop it there. For the cream of lima bean soup, I am using some of the leftovers that I had frozen of the lima beans from the last time we did lima beans. So it doesn't need to cook that long. I'm just going to put it in this broth for a little while just to warm up these beans, but I'm not going to boil them into quite oblivion yet. We might be wrong here, but I have decided that this is going to be similar to last week's navy bean soup, where we are supposed to push the beans through the colander. And I'm going to use this strainer right here. And hopefully that's correct. If it's not, then I guess you can see what not to do. But if it is, then I think it's going to give a lot of extra really great flavor to this soup. The moment of truth is this boiled suet pudding going to come out. This is still a little hot, but not too hot. Maybe too hot. Oh! Ooh! Ooh, and it jiggles a little. This is beautiful.
That is amazing.
So pretty. We've made it to the end of dinner in one day again with the help of Tori, so thank you very much. Let's try our cream of lima bean soup first. Definitely smells very beany. I think I'm getting a little bit of the parsley smell in there too, but it smells good. What are your thoughts?
It tastes like pureed beans. That's all I got for you.
You had a long pause, like you were seriously considering all of these very big adjectives and how you were going to say it in a very sophisticated manner. And then you came out with pureed beans.
I was trying to figure out how to say it without being mean. Because it is good. It tastes good.
Yeah.
There's just nothing special about it.
Cool.
It's there.
Okay. And I think if you like beans a lot, it's probably special, because I think this is delicious. I love it. Excellent review. All right.
You're welcome.
I'm a big fan. If you don't like beans or you want a little more texture, I can see why. But somebody brought up a good point that this is just the start to a meal in the 1920s, and they wanted something that was a little lighter, like a broth or a consomme or something, just to kind of start you off. So this makes sense for that. Why are these soups not heartier? Why are these soups not thicker or chunkier, like soupy things that we think about for soup? And it's because it's just the start to a meal. Like first course, if it were big, thick, chunky,
I don't start meals.
If it were chunkier and heartier, you'd fill up before you got to the rest of this.
That makes sense.
Chicken and gravy. I'm interested. So this chicken did not call for the fat salt pork. All the other chicken dishes so far have. So I'm curious to know whether this is going to be one of my favorites again, when all the other chicken dishes were my favorites. But I'm wondering if it wasn't the chicken, if it was the pork or the fat. But let's taste. Smells delicious.
It smells
Ooh,
so good.
I smell that white pepper in there. When it called for salt and pepper in all these recipes, we decided to just use the white pepper that I had ground up so that we weren't wasting it. So that white pepper is very, very fragrant, and we're smelling it in all these dishes.
It smells like Thanksgiving.
Ooh, it does smell. You're right. It smells like Thanksgiving. Ooh, we need the sweet potato croquettes with this. What do you think?
I was expecting it to have a stronger flavor because of the pepper.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as strong as I thought it would be, but it's probably the most flavorful thing I've eaten from this recipe book.
Okay.
It's very good.
Mm-hmm.
I like it a lot.
Okay.
I really did not understand the concept of breading chicken and then covering it with water. That seemed like the most silly thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it works.
But I agree that breading almost helps to thicken the gravy a little bit. And it leaves it with a very nice texture. And I think the flavoring probably depends on how much you add yourself. So
True.
And I guess consider, like, the flavor in this, we used Italian breadcrumbs, or Italian seasoned breadcrumbs. So maybe there's extra flavor that might not have been there if we wouldn't have. But
That's true.
it's probably a matter of what you like in your own kitchen or what they would have liked in their own kitchen. But overall, as a base idea, this is great. Lady Cabb is next. So I don't know if you can eat this because you are not a lady.
It's true.
It smells like milk and cabbage. It smells delicious. I wonder if it should be thicker. This, to me, looking at it, the sauce seems a little bit thin, but that could be because we had an aggressive amount of sauce, and it didn't say how much flour and butter to add. So if you're following what we did and you have the same amount of liquid that we ended up with, and you wanted to do this, but you wanted your sauce to be thicker, either add a lot more of the butter and flour or cut that sauce in half. And I'll show you in the dish what it looks like so you can get an idea of what I mean. So if you can just see, like, it's not completely watery thin, but it is, the viscosity is not very high.
This is really good. I think I would have cooked it a little bit longer because the breadcrumbs aren't quite brown.
Okay.
Maybe buttering them would have been the right idea.
It did say buttered.
It did.
Yeah. You probably should have buttered them.
Butter your crumbs.
The first bite I got did not have any of the crumbs on the top of it. Adding the crumbs in there really brought it to another level, I guess.
Yes.
Oh, do you want to try it with the chicken? I bet it's supposed to go with the chicken a little bit.
Probably. Like the spinach and the sweet potatoes.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was so good.
Try the Lady Cabb. I love it. I don't know if that was just like a typing thing that they shortened it to Lady Cabb, and it's Lady Cabbage, but I love Lady Cabb.
It is pretty good together, but they're also very good separately. It's not like the moment that we have with the spinach and the sweet potatoes.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's fine together, but I like them better separate. Next up, we have our Chiffonade Salad, and we are both giant fans of beets. I love cucumbers.
I'd beat you up for a beet.
Shut up.
Why did I just try to blow on this?
Oh, I think it smells amazing. I love the smell of the egg in there. It seems like a strange thing to say, but the rest of this mixed together, that egg added in there, the scent of it is very, very pleasant. Cheers.
That was really good.
Do you have any egg left on yours? Here, try it again, but with the egg and not the celery. If I were to make this again, I would probably use a little bit less celery, if not omit the celery, and maybe double or triple the egg. And I think this could be like a weekly dish that I ate. This is really, really good.
Yes. I would chop the celery up smaller. Also, when we were making the dressing, the onion and peppers did not make any sense to me whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
So I would probably make those bigger, if not just not put them in at all.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Either that or make them much, much, much smaller. Because, like, the dressing itself reminds me of just, like, a generic Italian dressing that you get at the grocery store.
Okay.
And those, like, the solid pieces in there are very, very, very small.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a talented enough person at knife skills to get it that small.
Okay.
But, yeah, that's what I would do. This is phenomenal.
I'd like to see if we can get a shot of this being cut to look at the inside of it.
I don't want to waste it if I spit it out at the ducks.
Yeah, I like the level of moisture in it. And I'll just go this part of the heart as well. That's a big slice. Ooh. Yeah, that looks great. It looks like it's going to be very dense.
It is very soft.
Yeah.
Damp.
Oh, that's a good way. Yeah, it is. It's damp, but in a good way.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what to expect when it was like, boil this beef suet pudding. It sounds repulsive.
It looked repulsive when I was mixing it.
I mean, I thought it looked delicious, but I can see why you might think so. But the results, like the smell and visually the results of this, I don't know if you can clearly see what we can see, and you can't smell it, but hopefully, maybe in a few years with the advances of technology, maybe at some point you'll be able to sniff this.
It does smell so good.
Yes, it does.
I'm just scared to eat it.
Okay, go.
This is effing delicious and you need to make it all the time.
This is amazing. I don't know if anybody can hear the very low flying jet plane over our house. But yeah, I don't understand how this went out of fashion.
This is so good. It's so good.
Does anybody remember their parents or grandparents or great-grandparents, or does anybody forget back then remembering this? Is there anybody who still makes this suet pudding? And if not, every single one of you, unless you have some sort of an allergy or food issue or you're a vegetarian, you need to immediately try this and let us know how it went. Also, if you remember anybody making it, please tell us every single thing about what you remember, because this is amazing.
So good.
Like, I have 2 here, and I don't want to let you have a piece of any of them. I just want to keep it and eat both of them with my hands in one sitting. It's so good.
Why do you like this?
It's so good.
It is really good. I would say if I still restricted myself from local beef, I think this wouldn't be quite as good, but it would be comparable if you used vegetable shortening.
No.
No?
Don't even finish your thought. No.
Maybe you have vegetarian fevers.
You're right. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're right.
Like, obviously, anytime you swap out any plant-based ingredient for meat ingredient, that changes the consistency and a little bit of, well, a lot of the flavor, actually. But the consistency. So it would not be this, but I think it would be similar enough that they could also enjoy this. Because the molasses flavor comes through really strong in this.
I don't know what whipped cream would have added to this.
As someone that, again, will just eat whipped cream on its own, nothing.
Yeah, I don't think this needed whipped cream. I don't think there's anything that should be done differently with this. Added, subtracted, adjusted, whatsoever.
Nothing. Not a single
This
thing.
is perfect exactly how it is. Who is wasting perfectly good suet on stupid birds when you could have this? I feel like we could do just an entire video or a series about the appreciation for this suet pudding. The only thing I'll say about this that isn't my favorite thing at the end, but I'm willing to sacrifice, I'm willing to put up with the side effect here, is that it coats your mouth with that layer of fat. Like, the mouthfeel is great when you're eating it. It is like the best thing ever. But afterward, I just feel this filmy layer of beef fat all over my mouth. Like, I feel like if I took my finger and wrote on the roof of my mouth right now, you could read it. There's so much fat in there.
I need a little Dawn dish soap.
Yeah. Wash your mouth out with Dawn dish soap.
Toothbrush.
Yeah. You definitely need something afterward to get that feeling out of your mouth if that's something that bothers you. I've been asked several times to weigh in with some information or my opinions from a dietetics perspective. And I'll give a very, very vague general overall thought because I'm very hesitant to offer any sort of, I guess, dietetic information because everyone comes at this from a different perspective. There is differences in accessibility. There is differences in culture. There are differences in culture. There also are major, major differences in what people can tolerate. So somebody who has some sort of a cardiac issue or has diabetes, either type 1 or type 2, somebody with celiac, there are so many different medical conditions that some of this would not apply to them. And if you were somebody who had one of those medical conditions or didn't, and it doesn't matter. If you were someone who that information did not apply to you, I would not want to give out information that either could be harmful to you or misinterpreted and taken in a different context and harmful in some way. So my overall thoughts on this meal in a very general perspective. I really like the variation of vegetables in this. You have different colors, so you have a lot of different micronutrients in here. You've got cabbage, you've got beets, you've got celery, you've got cucumbers, and the different types of vitamins and minerals in that are very, very helpful. There's also a difference in cooked versus raw vegetables here. You have a good variation of both. That's really great. With the gravy and the suet pudding and the oil in the salad and all of the butter and milk, and of course they weren't going to be using skim milk in 1920. They were going to be using whole milk or cream in a lot of this. And the heavy whipping cream on top of the suet pudding. There is a lot of fat in this meal. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That's very important in helping you to absorb some of those fat soluble vitamins. So your A, D, E, and K, you're going to need that in order for your body to absorb those vitamins. Having said that, if you're not doing a ton of work after this or the next day, whatever it is, This is a pretty heavy, fatty meal. For one Sunday dinner, that's fine, no big deal. If they were eating like this all the time, it could become problematic. I think this one, in comparison to a lot of the other meals, was a little lighter in carbohydrates than some of the other meals that we've had. Again, you need carbohydrates. They are so important. You need carbohydrates as your main energy source. And so if they were doing any type of manual labor, especially the farmers after this, exceedingly important. Something that I thought about with the soups when they were straining the bean soups out, that I was a little disappointed just for myself from a dietetics perspective, a standpoint in that they're losing a lot of fiber. And I'm sure that that's not a big deal in the 1920s, in that they were probably making up for it in all sorts of other ways, getting plenty of fiber otherwise. But in this meal in particular, with some of your other things, there was plenty of fiber, I think, in a general meal. But overall, yeah, I think this is a lovely meal. I think there was a lot of variation. And that's it for this week. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you liked what you saw, please consider liking and subscribing. That way you get to see each meal as we continue through the 52 weeks. Next week, amongst other things, we'll be making Yorkshire pudding, or should I say, attempting to make. Join us next week to see how that turns out.